Just how much difference is there between the Callaway 2019 Apex irons and the Callaway 2019 Epic Forged Irons? Let's find out, and let's do it now. Hi everyone, James Robinson here. If you're new to the channel and this is your very first time watching my content, first of all, welcome to the channel, and second of all, please make sure you do hit that subscribe button before you leave. On this channel, I bring you guys daily golf related content every single day that hopefully helps you raise your game, helps you lower that handicap, and mainly just gets you enjoying golf loads more. In today's video, I am testing the Callaway Apex CF 19 irons against the Callaway Epic Forged Irons. I'm going to test them for performance. We're going to see exactly how much technology goes into both these clubs, and we're also going to have a little look at the price and see just how much more performance you get for your money with the Epic Forged. So without any further ado, let's just crack on, shall we? Now, the first port of call in this video really needs to be the price, because at most retailers you are going to pay double for the Epic Forged as you would for the Callaway Apex CF 19. But then there is a lot more technology in the Epic Forged. But then the Apex still feel great. In this video, I have the 8-iron, the 6-iron and the 4-iron in both sets. I'm going to compare lofts, I'm going to compare lengths, I'm going to compare shafts, and we're going to compare technology and see just how much more you get for your money with this rather than this. Oh. You see, I'm a huge fan of the Callaway Apex range. In particular, I really like the Callaway Apex Pro range, and if I was to use this set, I think I'd definitely go split set with the Apex into the long irons. Now, the first port of call here has to be looking at two things: the length of the shaft and the loft. So first of all, guys, I'm going to put up on the screen the specs for the Apex range, and you can take a look at these and you'll see how the loft in the 4-iron we have is 21, the loft in the 6-iron 26.5, and the loft in the 8-iron 34.5. Now, you may think they're quite strong. You haven't seen anything yet. And also, if we take a look at the shaft length on the 4-iron 38.5 inches, on the 6-iron 37.5 inches, and on the 8-iron 36.5 inches. Now, if we move over to the specs on the Epic Forged irons, you'll see now that these don't come in a 3-iron, and the 4-iron is 18 degrees loft, the 6-iron 24 degrees loft as opposed to 26.5, and the 8-iron 31.5 degrees loft as opposed to 34.5. So I think it's fair to say that the Epic Forged are a lot stronger lofted than the Apex, which are already pretty strongly lofted. Now, in my review for the Epic Forged irons, I've had a lot of comments on there just saying the jacked up lofts, that's all they are. All they're doing is knocking the lofts down, and that's all they're doing. Then they're going to charge you a lot more money for them because you think you're hitting your 4-iron, but really you're hitting a 1-iron, and so on and so forth. And I replied to quite a few of the comments in saying, that's fine, yes, they have cranked the lofts down, the lofts are stronger, absolutely stronger, yes, they are. But if you looked at the peak height of those irons, they're a lot higher than tour average. So I'm going to be interested to test the peak height on all these irons against the Apexes and just see how much difference there is, because there may be more technology in the head for the Epic to allow the ball to launch, to allow it to get higher, stop softer, and therefore you can have the stronger lofts and hit the ball further. Whew, I think that's enough on lofts. Let's talk shaft length. So as mentioned a few seconds ago, the 4-iron 38.5 inches, 6-iron 37.5 inches, and 8-iron 36.5 inches. Now, if we swipe over and have a look at the length of the Epic Forged irons, 4-iron an inch longer at 39.5 inches, 6-iron 3/4 of an inch longer at 38.25 as opposed to 37.5, and the 8-iron half an inch longer at 37 inches as opposed to 36.5 inches. So they're going to be more club head speed too. Whew, that was a lot of talking, and we haven't even started talking technology yet. You see, now these golf clubs do share a lot of the same technology. They both have the 360 face cup, they both have VFT variable face thickness to help with spin rates on different clubs. Both of these clubs are made out of 1025 steel, and both of the clubs have Callaway's paint-tinted microsphere technology that absorbs any shock throughout the club. So I've just hit a bunch of shots there with the Callaway Apex Forged Irons. I've hit 8 irons, I've hit 6 irons, I've now hit 4 irons. We're now going to do the same with the Epic Forged Irons, and we're going to see what the difference is. We're going to see what the difference is in distance, see what the difference is in spin, see what the difference is in peak height, and then we'll just see what, and then we'll just have a bit of a chin wag really. Now I've got to say, because I've had a warm up with both these irons as well today, and feel wise for me, the Epic Forged do feel a lot softer. They do feel just softer. And I've certainly noticed a difference on miss hits as well. As you can imagine, when you stand here all day hitting golf shots, you're going to have the odd miss hit, you're going to have the odd miss hit with both sets of clubs. And for me, the miss hits with the Epic Forged definitely still feel stronger, still feel better in a way than the miss hits with the Apex Forged. Keep trying to say Epic Forged, Apex Forged in the same sentence. There's going to be a lot of outtakes in this video. The Epic Forged Iron does feature for the first time with Callaway in a forged iron a suspended tungsten core, which provides a much more precise and specifically located centre of gravity for each iron. Alright. Unfortunately, they can't stop you doing that. Now, obviously, we wouldn't be talking comparisons if we weren't talking shafts. And this is one big thing which Callaway have gone all out on in the Epic Forged Iron. As a standard stock shaft, you can get this steel fibre FC, in my case, FC90 shaft. This is a graphite shaft that's designed to look like a steel shaft, that's designed to be more like a graphite shaft, but more like a steel shaft. And I must say, it's one thing that almost kind of puts me off these clubs, in that I don't want loads of detailing on the shafts that I'm using. I just want them to be kind of fairly plain, really. That is an absolute monster. 232 yards with a 4 iron. If you are after distance, I'm going to put it out there and say that these are probably going to be up there in the irons that you need to try this year, because I mean, that was just silly. We also get the Golf Pride Tall Velvet Align grip as standard on these clubs. I do think that's a nice touch actually. I do like this Align grip. I feel like it really gives you a little bit of support in knowing where the club face is at all times. So guys, I've talked you to death about these clubs. I've told you about all the technology that's in them. Hopefully all the technology that's in them. Now, just before we do take a look at how these clubs have performed, look at the numbers, the spin rate, the distance, everything, I think it's important to say just how they look. So for me, the Apex Forged Irons do look that little bit smaller, that little bit sleeker. They still look a little bit big in relation to the Apex Pro Irons, but you can tell that there is a loft difference there. You can tell that there's more loft on the Apex Forged, and for me, that's a little bit more inviting. When you do look down at an 8 iron, it looks more like a 6 iron. Yeah, it's going to go further, but it just kind of doesn't fill you with that much confidence, really. I like to see that little bit of loft. However, the leading edge on the Apex Forged does look a little bit bigger in the short irons than the Epic Forged. So if you do like that sleeker looking irons in the short irons, then bear that in mind. Guys, let's take a look at the numbers. So guys, distances for the Callaway Apex Forged and Callaway Epic Forged. So we're going to start here at the bottom and look at the 8 irons, Epic Forged 8 iron and Apex 8 iron. 20-yard difference near enough, well 18-yard difference in distance. Club head speed 89 as opposed to 84. Ball speed 122 as opposed to 115. Spin rate down on the Epic Forged, which is the top of the two, and the peak height higher with the Epic Forged. Moving on to the 6 irons in the middle here, you can see again how the Epic Forged has taken it on distance by 19 yards again, so pretty much the same, creating a club head speed of 3 miles an hour more and a ball speed of 7 miles an hour more. Again, spinning less at kind of 600 RPM less, but this time the peak height at 110 is lower than the peak height at 117, which would be potentially a little bit worrying, but it must be said, both these numbers are still quite high in relation to kind of tour averages and average peak height. And as we move to the top of the list, you'll see again with the 4 irons, the Epic Forged has taken it. Not by as much this time, it's only taken it by about 8 yards there. Total distance, club head speed 5 miles an hour more, ball speed 3 miles an hour more, spin rate a lot lower at 3,000 as opposed to 3.5, which 3.5 I'm taking with a 4-iron, 3,000 is a little bit low. An average peak height, very worryingly low there at 84.2 with the Epic Forged iron as opposed to 104, which is real nice and high with the Apex 4 iron. So guys, as a roundup, what do we think to the Callaway Apex Forged and the Callaway Epic Forged? For me, I think they probably both go too far. All those numbers are quite staggering. They're a lot further than what I would hit my normal irons. The Apex Forged irons are a good club further than what I would hit my normal Mizunos, and the Epic Forged irons are 2, maybe even 2.5 clubs further. And for me, that would worry me further down in the bag towards the pitching wedge, the gap wedge, the sand wedge, the 9-iron. I'm going to have too big a gaps there personally. Callaway claim that the Epic Forged iron is suited between 6 handicap and 20 handicap. That's obviously not me, so I'm going to be really interested to get Mark to test these clubs. And the Apex Forged iron is also designed for a nice wide range of golfers. For me, the best Callaway club that I would potentially use this year is the Apex Pro, and I would probably go Apex Forged, maybe 6.54 iron, maybe even just 5 and 4 iron, because I do enjoy a split set. Now guys, comment below, what do you think to these clubs? One real worrying thing for me there in those numbers particularly was the peak height with the 4-iron in the Epic Forged. I think the rest of the numbers were okay. Yes, the low spinning, yes, the strong lofted, but as you could see from the peak height numbers, they're all going pretty high, they're all launching nicely. Yes, I have a high club head speed, so it's going to be again interesting to see what happens with Mark the mid-handicap test, to see if he can get them as high and get them landing nice and softly. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed that. If you have enjoyed it, please make sure you do hit that subscribe button below, leave a like if you've enjoyed the content, and as always, I'll see you tomorrow.